This is Passion 9, the Drunk Otaku. Everybody, it is a new year. And with a new year, it is a time to reflect. A time to reflect on the year that came before. And with that year, I'm of course talking about 2024. And all the awesome anime that came out that year. So yeah, what's up everybody? New year. Let's talk about all the great stuff that came out last year. Starting with Gushing Over Magical Girls, which was a real standout for me. Real standout. Not the best looking magical girl show I've ever seen when it comes to fight animation or whatever. But it did have one of the more subversive plots I've seen in a Mahou Shoujo series since Madoka Magica, to be honest. It may not have Studio Shaft behind it like that show did, but it was packed with really fun fan service and really fun characters, really fun, amusing characters, raunchy as hell in so many ways. Very sensual show, but I adored it. Utena Haragi might be my new favorite magical girl waifu. Like she is, she is awesome. She is a standout for the year, just when it comes to characters alone. This magical girl villainess who also adores magical girls. She adores the existence of magical girls. She is herself a magical girl fangirl who just happens to become a magical girl villain. And then she manages to work that to her advantage when she ends up sadistically in a BDSM fashion torturing them every time she fights with the magical girl quartet in the show. So it's not only a subversion of the magical girl genre by making our main character a magical girl villain who is still very lovable and likable, but it also gets a little meta by making her a huge fan of magical girls who also just happens to kind of get off to making them suffer, non-lethally of course, but she enjoys whipping their heinies, quite literally, not just in the figurative sense. It's a really fun, hilarious show, and definitely a standout for me. I hope we get a season 2, because it's quite phenomenal. And I don't know if y'all noticed, but we have cows. We have cows. How many YouTubers bring you not only anime discussions out in the wilderness, but cows? I mean, come on. This is good content right here. Just look at these cows. They're very stiff. Maybe they're cold. I don't know. They're not moving a whole lot. But they're out there. We out here, bro. We out here. The cows are out here. Yeah. They're chilling. They're chilling. See, I'm out here in the woods, staying with some relatives, and my only neighbors are cows. So that should tell you how remote this place is. I mean, look around. It's nothing but woods, y'all. It's nothing but woods. But anyhow, what else did I see this year that I thought was awesome? We had my dear friend Nokotan, the Dear Girl Show, as some would like to call it. Definitely the #1 meme anime of 2024. It is the most memed anime of 2024. Coming from Studio Wit, of all things. The original Attack on Titan studio. They've gone from Attack on Titan to my dear friend Nokotan. That show has, by the way, probably the most addictive, catchy earworm of a song in its intro since The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, since the Hara Hara Yukai dance. I think that's what it was called. You know, that dance. It's really fun. The intro, it's still stuck in my brain as we speak. Now, I won't say the anime itself as funny and incredibly stupid, deliberately stupid as it was, as much as I enjoyed it. I'm not going to say every episode was as good as the last. And I'm not going to say all of its narrative hooks every episode was like, the best thing ever. But I enjoyed it. I really did. It was definitely one of the funniest shows I've seen this year. I think we got more cows. Where are the cows? There they are. They're chilling over there by the bushes. You see them? Look at them. Cows, real cows. They're just up there hanging out over there. Genuine livestock. Anyway, my dear friend Nokotan was good. Very funny. Very, very funny. Very good show. If you haven't seen it yet, what's wrong with you, man? Watch it. It's funny. It's funny. I like to laugh sometimes with my anime shows. I like to laugh a lot with my anime shows. And it's good to know that Studio Wit can do more than just make us cry and fear Titans, So then we also had the VTuber show, the big VTuber show. I forgot to turn off my live stream or something. I forget the exact title because it's a long title, but yeah, the VTuber show was okay. It was probably the weakest show out of all these shows that I saw last year. Mostly because it's basically just hang out with VTubers, the anime. The first episode has a good premise behind it, where, our main character, who is a VTuber, accidentally leaves her stream running. And of course, all of her fans get to see the real her when she's cracking open beers and saying embarrassing things. And that is a really funny episode that felt very, very relatable and authentic. The problem with that show is it can't really keep it up. Because after that one joke, you can only do it once. And after that first episode, the rest of the story basically just boils down to how this VTuber girl learns to be more real as a VTuber because, there's no putting that Pandora back in the box. But the rest of it's just not that funny. It basically just becomes hang out with VTubers, the anime, and I'd much rather just watch actual VTubers than watch this show, to be completely honest. It was still amusing enough that I watched all 12 episodes. I guess it was good, background noise, mostly. It was one of those anime that I kind of just half-watched. So, not the highest praise in the world, but, it was okay. It was alright. It's a C+ kind of show. Another thing I didn't like about it very much is the fact that I feel like it was a missed opportunity to show us what these VTubers are like off stream. The actual people behind their VTuber rigs, which of course do appear in the show. But what's weird about it is the character designs look exactly the same in real life as they do in their VTuber rigs, which is weird. Because I feel like that was a missed opportunity to show us, the more natural, real life side of these characters when they're not online streaming. But whatever. It's an okay show. But something much better that I also saw last year that also involves internet culture was Mayonaka Punch, which, I'll go ahead and say it, handles that subject a hell of a lot better, plot-wise. and actually has something to say about it. Only in this case, it's not VTubers, it's YouTubers. We have a girl who completely tanks her YouTube channel where she did a podcast with some friends and over disagreements ended up punching one of them in the face, hence the title. And in a hopeless bid to rebuild her channel and her reputation online, because, you know, she's kind of become a canceled person, she ends up enlisting the help of a group of vampire girls to start a new YouTube channel. And of course, these vampires, although they lived for centuries, they don't even know what YouTube is. But they learn from this girl and end up making lots of goofy videos. And it's a really fun, kooky show that takes that premise and definitely runs with it and has a lot of fun with it. And I love vampires in general, especially in anime. And this is definitely up there as one of the, you know, better, more fun vampire anime I've seen. It may not be as incredible as, say, the Bakemonogatari series, but still, it's up there. And I really, really liked the animation and the character designs. It's a very pretty looking show. Yeah, I enjoyed this one a lot because, again, it took an aspect of internet culture, YouTubers and such, and did a lot more with it. It had a lot more fun with it, kind of had some interesting things to say about it, rather than just, you know, saying, hey, isn't this great, isn't this cool? You know what I mean? So, yeah, I would definitely check out Mayonaka Punch. That was a good one of my favorites of last year for sure. I would also recommend My Wife Has No Emotion, about a dude who falls in love with a robot housewife. That at first is just supposed to make him dinner and do chores, but he ends up falling in love with her and making her his official wife. And that show I especially liked, even though, again, not the flashiest thing in the world, not one of the flashy shows I've seen, but it's a good slice of life show that takes a surprisingly grounded approach to its plot of having this robot girl. So, like, I'd recommend that one. It's good. It's good stuff. I think it handled its subject matter in a way that was very refreshing. Because, of course, we've had this premise before of characters in those types of situations, you know, where a guy falls in love with a robot girl. And it's usually more fantastical, it's usually more colorful, something like Chobits. But I thought My Wife Has No Emotion was refreshing in how grounded its approach was to that subject matter. Definitely worth checking out if you like slice of life. And what else we got? This was the year I actually gave Isekai a chance for the first time in a billion years, and that was No Longer Allowed in Another World, which I thought was pretty solid, revolving the entire plot around the main character being based on a dead author. A real-life dead author was interesting, to say the least. Some might even say it's a little offensive. I found it pretty funny. I won't deny it. And it was just enough of a hook that I was like, okay. I mean, it still has a lot of cookie-cutter elements that you expect from Isekai, and it still feels a little generic at times. But it was one of the shows that kind of hooked me this year, despite being an Isekai, and I guess that counts for something. And of course, Dragon Ball came back. Dragon Ball, for the first time in ages, came back, and this time it's real Dragon Ball from Akira Toriyama himself. None of that Dragon Ball Super shit that's like glorified fan fiction. And you know what? It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It feels like a proper sequel to Dragon Ball Z, which is the best thing I can say about it. I will say it still feels weird to this day, and this is not necessarily a big criticism against the show itself so much as just, you know, the way anime is made nowadays. But there's something about seeing Dragon Ball in a super slick, digitized animation style that I still can't quite, still not quite comfortable with. I don't know. I'm so used to that show just having a rougher, more pencil sketched look, that there's just something about the slick, clean animation style that Daima has, and Super to a much greater degree, of course. That just doesn't look quite right for me with Dragon Ball. And, having said that, I do think Daima, animation-wise, is the best-looking Dragon Ball show we've gotten maybe ever at times. It's got some outstanding fights so far. Of course, the show isn't over yet. This is the only anime I've mentioned so far that hasn't actually ended yet. It's still going on into 2025. So I'm not even sure, how I feel entirely about the story yet, but it is interesting as far as setups go. Like this whole demon world, the fact that Namekians actually have a much more interesting lore and backstory now than they've had for a long time is really cool. So they're doing some really interesting stuff with the lore. And, goes without saying that this is probably the last Dragon Ball thing we'll ever get from Toriyama himself after he passed. So, it's got that going for it. I still enjoyed it quite a bit so far. And then, of course, last but not least, Dan Da Dan. Without question, my favorite anime of 2024. Hell, it's not just the best anime of 2024, guys. Dan Da Dan is the best anime of the decade so far. It's the best anime of the 2020s so far. The only thing that comes close to being as good as Dan Da Dan would be Chainsaw Man, which of course was released back a couple of years back. And that was, very, very good. I thought that was substantially good. A lot of people had problems with it, the way it adapted the manga. But you can't say that about Dan Da Dan. Dan Da Dan actually is superior to its original manga. It actually elevates the material because it's that good. The animation is just that good and that much fun to watch. And everything from the animation to the characters and the comedy and the writing is so snappy and so lively and infectious. It's just such a good freaking show, man. The opening intro slaps so hard. Once again, we got music by Creepy Nuts, who I thought did an outstanding job with the soundtrack for Call of the Night. They're back, and they produced one of the best opening intros, music-wise, of 2024. I mean, the animation is incredible, too, of course, coming from Science Saru, who, I'm going to go ahead and say it, probably the best animation work I've ever seen this studio do. And of course, I've liked Science Saru since Devilman Crybaby. I always thought they were a good studio with some interesting experimental stuff. But this, without question, is the best anime, animation-wise and narratively, that I think they've ever produced. It's definitely raising the standards in more ways than one for anime production. And yeah, I guess the only criticism some might have is that the show ends pretty abruptly for its first season. It ends on a pretty sharp, abrupt cliffhanger. But I'm okay with this primarily because even though a shit ton of work probably went into this first season, I can't be mad about the way it ended because season 2 is already confirmed for this summer, for summer 2025. Now, that's kind of a miracle in and of itself when you consider the quality of season 1. I think it's kind of a miracle we're getting something of that caliber again so soon. So yeah, Dan Da Dan, anime of 2024. But it's been a great year in general for anime. It really has. And I'm looking forward to the stuff we're getting this year in 2025. So, what do you guys think? What are your thoughts on, the anime of 2024? Do you agree with my opinions? Have you seen any of these shows? You have any thoughts on them? Did you see anything I haven't for 2024 that you think I should? Let me know in the comments. And of course, as always, live for the passion. Hope there aren't any bears out here. Any hungry bears? Bye.